jurors are present and counted for you, right?
Thank you all. Please be seated. Mr. Wilson, the state may call its next witness.
Thank you. State would call Dr. Mary Beth Hopel.
Okay, thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, you may have seen on the screen as you were coming in that Dr. Hopel is on, she's testifying by Zoom. She's on the screen. The parties have agreed for her to testify by Zoom, and I'm just going to instruct you that you should evaluate her testimony the same as you would a witness who was physically here in person. Deputy, sorry, will you please come back and swear Dr. Hopel? Thank you. If you stand at the podium, she can.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm to the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state and spell your full name for the court, please.
My name is Dr. Mary Beth Hopel, H-A-U-P-T-L-E.
Thank you, ma'am. You may lower your hand. Mr. Wilson, go ahead.
Thank you. Dr. Hopel, can you hear me fine?
Yes.
Dr. Hopel, what state do you live in now?
I live in Florida.
Okay. And what do you do for a living?
Well, I am retired from the field of medical legal death investigation as well as forensic odontology.
Okay. When did you retire?
I retired in October of 1996.
And prior to that date, where did you work?
Where did I work?
Yes, ma'am.
I worked for the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office in downtown Atlanta.
And what was your job there?
My job, I wore two hats. My job in this case was as the medical legal investigator. I took the telephone call that came in from the police department on the finding of remains. But I am also a forensic dentist.
Okay.
Working at the Fulton, yes.
Now, your first job, well, your first hat is as an investigator. Could you please tell the jury what you would typically do as an investigator, how you received some training on that, and how long have you been doing that for?
Well, I had pretty significant training in medical legal death investigation from the people in St. Louis and some people in Washington, D.C. And so I was trained that I am, as an investigator, the person who goes to the scene and evaluates the circumstances, evaluates the decedent, and takes pictures for the purpose of serving as or for the medical examiner in the case. I have to write up a report of my findings, and it's to the medical examiner that I write up what I find.
Okay. And how many years experience did you have at that?
At the time of this case, this was what, in 99?
Yes.
Okay, I was trained, let's see. I received my training prior to being hired at the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office, and that was in October of 1996.
Okay. And you also said you wore a different hat as a forensic dentist. Is there a name for your specialty?
Yes, I'm a forensic dentist. I'm the girl they call in when perhaps the DNA in the case is not of good enough quality to do a comparison check, or if the decedent doesn't have fingerprints, so they're not in any system to understand who they are. So they call in a forensic dentist because teeth can withstand all kinds of conditions. They can outlast fire and they're just impervious to the elements. So my job is to examine the remains, take x-rays of the remains, and then to compare those x-rays to x-rays of whomever law enforcement thinks the person might be.
How does one get to be trained to be a forensic? Is there a special name for your special dentistry? Odontology? It's
forensic odontology, and I took numerous courses from 1991, 1992, 1993. I'm a dentist. I have been a dentist since 1984, but I was a hygienist before I became a dentist. So I've been looking at a lot of mouths and a lot of x-rays.
So you've been a dentist since you graduated from dental school in 1984?
Yeah.
Where from?
From Loyola University in Chicago.
And when you graduate from dentist, does that mean you're automatically a dentist?
No, you have to pass a national board exam.
And
so, though the DDS part, Doctor of Dental Surgery, is the diploma I received from Loyola, we all had to pass this national board exam, and if you didn't pass the exam, you waited around till the next time it was given, and you took it then in hopes that you passed it.
Did you pass that exam?
Yes.
And that's how you became a licensed dentist?
That's right.
Now, at that time, were you just a general dentist?
Yeah.
Did you?
Wilson, forgive me for interrupting, but if you could come here, please, and Mr. McDermott, or Ms. Hilfer is on the way. Sorry.
Oh.
Go ahead, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Your Honor. You said that you were a specialist in forensic odontology. Well, how does one get to be a forensic odontologist?
The way to do this is I was fortunate, faculty members of mine, both for dental hygiene school and dental school, trained at Walter Reed Medical Institution in forensic dentistry. So you have to take lots of weeks of courses, mostly in pathology, mostly in radiology.
And what is your main purpose as a forensic odontologist?
My main purpose is to identify individuals who are visually not recognizable. So if somebody's burned beyond recognition or skeletal remains are found in the woods, that's the time you have to call a forensic dentist.
And how is it that is a unique field that you can help in? Well, I mean, what are you looking for when you're trying to identify someone?
I'm looking to find that the x-rays that I've taken of the decedent, if they compare identically with the x-rays of the person before they died, then there's no question that this is who I think they are. So it's a matter of comparing before death radiographs to after death radiographs.
And How many times have you done that in your career?
Oh my. I don't know that I'd be able to answer that accurately. It's in the hundreds.
Hundreds?
Yeah.
And do you go through a specialty type exam to become a forensic odontologist?
No, it's the courses taken that matter. And then I also became a member of the American Academy of Forensic Sciences and the American Society of Forensic Odontology. And that's where you get together with fellows, your peers. So I can learn from a case that happened in 1979 when faculty members identified the dead from a major air crash at O'Hare International Airport. I knew how they had done it. And when I realized you could do that, because I love mystery so much, I knew that was a field for me.
Ma'am, have you ever been declared as an expert in the field of forensic odontology?
Yes, I've testified numerous times.
Have you ever been declared in Fulton County, Georgia as an expert in forensic odontology?
Say that again?
Have you been declared as an expert in the field of forensic odontology in Fulton County? To testify?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Your Honor, at this time I would tender Dr. Hopel as an expert in the field of forensic odontology.
No objection.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Are you familiar with the case of Melissa Wolfenbarger?
Yes, I am.
How did you first learn of this case?
I actually am the one who took the phone call from the police that had arrived on scene and informed me that there were remains of a human being's skull or head had been found by the side of the road. So I took the phone call, and then I grabbed the medical examiner, and we both went to the site.
Okay, do you remember what date that was?
Say that again?
Do you remember what date that was? When was that?
Oh, well, I don't remember when it was. It was 1999 at some point. I don't remember the exact date.
And you said the medical examiner accompanied you?
Yes, this was in 1998, and it was Dr. Robert Parker was the medical examiner. So we both drove to where the remains had been found.
Did Dr. Parker regularly accompany you to crime scenes?
Only if I asked him, yes.
Okay. Who else was with you other than Dr. Parker?
Say this again?
Who else was with you other than Dr. Parker?
Well, the Atlanta Police Department, their whole crime scene unit, and members of the GBI were there. Investigators were there also because they were interested. This head that had been found might be associated with a case they were investigating from Twiggs County, where they had, I think they had a corpse and they did not have the decedent's head. So they were really hoping that this would be the head that belonged to their torso, so to speak. So there were a lot of investigators there, not just myself and Dr. Parker.
What was the first thing you did when you arrived at the scene?
I examined the area, I examined where the head was, and then I took pictures myself.
And can you describe that scene when you first walked up to it? What did you see?
What I saw was, and this is badly decomposed, so you have to pardon me because it's out of sort, so to speak, but this, and therefore I knew it had been in a black bag before it had rolled out or been brought out by a German Shepherd dog. It looked like a head with its neck down on the street, and it was very deep green color.
What did that mean to you?
Say it again.
What did that coloration mean to you?
Oh, I knew that it had actually been cooking in this bag because the bag was plastic and black. So I knew this was not recent. This didn't happen last night.
Objection. She has been well, can we approach?
Sure.
Sure.
The objection is overruled. Go ahead, Mr. Wilson.
Dr. Hopel, could you see what condition was the skin in when you saw the skull?
It was terribly decomposed.
Okay, and could you see any of it? Was there anything of evidentiary value left on the skull itself?
No, I wouldn't say so.
All right. Could you see any of the bone of the skull?
Well, I could see underlying bone. It was just this green, decomposed flesh attached to it.
Okay. And did Dr. Parker examine the skull at the scene?
Oh, sure. Yep.
All right.
So there was no way to tell whether this was a male or a female. This was a
Objection.
badly
There's no question.
degraded.
This is a
Yeah.
non-responsive answer. This narrating is, there was no question.
Yes, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you.
Sustained.
Thank you. I'll move on. Now, do you recall whether or not there were any businesses near where the skull was discovered?
Have I ever what?
Do you recall if there were businesses near where the skull was discovered?
Yes.
And what kind of businesses were there?
Wow. I wouldn't be able to tell you. I think there was a guy that had a yard of some kind. I don't think it was a junkyard. I'm not sure. But there was a railroad across the street from where the skull lay.
Okay. Do you recall if there was anything else do you recall if there was anything else of significant found at the scene?
Yeah, the bag, there was a black bag that the skull had likely rolled out of. There was a German Shepherd dog that had been instrumental in this, and that's understandable.
Dr. Hopel? Dr. Hopel?
Dr. Hopel, can you hear me? This is Judge Krauss. Sorry, it's one of the limitations of the technology that sometimes there's a delay. There's an objection, so if you'll stop speaking for a moment while I deal with the objection.
Can we approach, Your Honor?
Yes. Go ahead, Mr. Wilson.
Dr. Hopel, who would have been in charge of securing evidence at the scene, evidence of the skull and other things at the scene? Would that have been you?
Yeah, it might have been me, or it might have been a colleague of mine.
And do you recall how long you and Dr. Parker were on the scene?
No, I don't recall how long it was.
After you completed your duties on the scene, what did you do next?
Ask me that again?
After you completed your duties at the scene, what did you do next?
Okay, then I went back to the office, brought Dr. Parker back, and started to write up my report.
And was there do you know if there was a formal autopsy of the skull and whatever evidence was found?
Yes, there was a formal autopsy of the skull performed, definitely.
And where would that have been performed?
Say this again?
Where would that have been performed?
At the Fulton County Medical Examiner's office.
And do you know when that autopsy occurred?
I'm not understanding.
Do you know when that autopsy would have occurred?
Would I have known when
I'll move on.
Or did it occur? It would have been that afternoon or the following day.
Thank you. Who was the first person that law enforcement thought this might be the head of? You understand what I'm asking you?
Yeah, ask me that again because I don't know.
Did you review dental records to try to determine whether or not this was the skull of people that were coming in?
I don't understand.
Okay. What did you do first to the skull in your duties? At the
In my
medical exam?
duties, I just examined the skull's dentition.
What did you do after that?
What did I do after that or no during that?
Did you take an x-ray?
No, I didn't take x-rays. The morgue staff did.
Are you familiar with NCIC, the term NCIC, what NCIC is?
Yes, I am.
And did you utilize that at all?
Yes.
Could you?
So when I did my examination, which is like a dentist doing an exam in their office, I render a chart. So I write down the features that are present in this mouth, going from the upper right, going all the way around, upper teeth, lower teeth. And on this NCIC form, I'm writing down what I found. The most significant finding was a filling on a single tooth, a single molar in the skull.
Can you hold on just a second?
Well, it'd be better if it was a complete copy.
So I'm going to show you what's been marked as states 77.
That's my dental chart of the decedent.
And is that the documentation that you recorded at the medical examiner?
Yes, it is.
And was that an accurate picture of what you found after your examination?
Absolutely. You see this filling on the lower.
Hang on,
that's the
hang
lower
on,
right.
hang on. Sorry, Dr. Hopel, forgive me for interrupting. You've shown her the document. She's identified the document.
Yes.
But now she's testifying about what's in the document.
I know, Your Honor. I was going to ask to admit State 77.
Any objection, Mr. McDermott?
No objection.
Exhibit 77 is admitted.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Now, what I'm doing is pointing at something on the chart. Is that what was significant for you?
Yeah, that's a silver amalgam filling on the chewing surface of tooth number 31, a lower second molar.
And
there were no other fillings. There were no other missing teeth. So we delight in this because it doesn't take a whole lot of rocket science to compare dental charts to this one.
And what you would do is compare dental charts that came in and see if they match, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. And or x-rays.
Do you recall how many unknown people, do you recall how many records you were asked to identify?
Oh, no, I have no idea. There were just people galore wanting to know if this was somebody of interest to them. So I got several calls from people over time.
Did you finally receive any dental records from, excuse me just a minute. I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 33. I'm trying to hold it up as well as I can.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to turn that one over. It's upside down. There you go. So show this to the jury, please.
Well, not yet. Not yet, because it's not in evidence yet.
Okay. Do you recognize those records?
Yes.
And what are those records?
What?
What are those records? What are those records? Do you recall what those records were?
No. I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, did you recognize those records when I showed them to you?
Yes.
What are they?
They were dental records from a person named Melissa Wolfenbarger.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, I'd move to tender States 33.
Mr. McDermott? 33 is admitted.
Thank you. Yeah, sure. Your Honor, I'd ask permission to publish number States 33.
Permission granted.
Thank you. And what was Dr. Hopel, what was significant about those records that you received, comparing them to the records of the remains found?
The most significant thing is that silver amalgam filling on tooth number 31. That would be the patient's lower right.
And did it match what you found from this on the skull?
Yes, it did. And the fact that it was the only restoration in the skull is to be made note of.
So after comparing the dental charts and the records of the dental charts from Dr. Brantley, and then the dental charts from the Fulton County medical examiners, were you able to determine, based on a reasonable scientific degree of certainty, whether or not those were from the same person?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And after you made that identification, what else did you do?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
After you made the identification, what did you do next?
After I made the identification, I informed the medical examiner, the medical examiner on the case.
Do you remember?
To let her know that I knew who this was, and that this was an unequivocal finding of mine.
And what medical examiner did you notify?
That would be Dr. Carol Patton. I believe she assumed the case from Dr. Parker way back in the early days.
And after you did that identification, what did you do? What did you do next in this case?
I don't know what I did next. I instructed people to notify the next of kin of this lady's death.
Okay. Did you ever do anything to the skull itself while in the Fulton Medical Examiner's office? Did you ever do anything?
No, I did look at how the skull had been prepared by the forensic anthropologist.
Okay.
So
Well, I don't need you to talk about that. May I just have a moment, Your Honor?
Sure.
Do you remember what year you made the actual identification of the skull?
what year the identification was made?
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, the case was in 1998, so I don't know. It had to be after that.
Okay. Was it a long period of time after that?
Yes, because we only had the skull, and then there was another case that came into the office, and this was bagged remains from also somebody that had dismembered a body and put into bags. I wasn't the lead investigator on the case, but the investigator on the case, because of the similarity in the way these remains were bagged, the DNA from those remains.
Hang on, just ma'am. Dr. Hopel?
Actually.
Hang on. Yes.
Let me ask you a different question. Let me go back to the scene of the discovery of the head. Could you describe the condition of the did you make reports on this case?
Yes.
And would it possibly help you to refresh your recollection to review your report as to when you made the discovery?
Yes.
Okay.
Can y'all come here for just a second? Go ahead, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Your Honor. You wrote a report. You wrote several reports in this case, correct?
Yes.
And if you wrote a report that stated that you identified the skull as belonging to Miss Melissa Wolfenbarger on the 14th day of March of 2003, would that be accurate?
Sure.
May I just have one more moment?
Sure.
Nothing further.
Mr. McDermott, questions for this witness?
Just a few. I would like to talk about both of them. I guess we can start with. I'll see if I can do it. Ms. Hopel.
Good afternoon.
Can you hear me fine?
I can, yes.
Okay. Do you remember this chart that was shown to you a while ago that you made? This was based on the skull?
Yes.
And do you have a copy of that? Or are you dependent upon my copy?
No. I have a copy somewhere in my file.
Okay, but not accessible? You don't have one accessible right now?
Say that again?
Do you have one easily accessible right now that you could read from?
It doesn't matter because what I'm seeing you hold up is exactly what I know I need. Yes.
Okay, Your Honor, I'm going to try to publish my digital version of that. Is that okay on Zoom?
Or is it Exhibit 77 that was admitted into evidence already?
That's 77.
That is, Judge. It is.
Go for it.
And we all know this is going to go as smoothly as possible.
Sure.
Hold on. Well, let me try it this way. Dr. Hopel, in your written version of the chart that you made based on the skull, do you remember noting that there were class 5 caries in tooth number 6 and tooth number 11?
Yeah.
You don't remember that?
No, I do remember that, and it's written on the chart.
Oh, good. Well, that simplified matters. What is a class 5 carie?
That would be a cavity that was at the base of the gum line. That's class 5. The amalgam silver filling.
Okay, I want to stop you. I didn't ask about the amalgam yet.
Yeah, that's tooth number 31. That's a class 1 amalgam.
Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm. Are class 5 caries more common in children or adults?
Adults.
Okay. Now, can you bring up the other exhibit, the chart from Dr. Brantley? Now, I'm going to share with you the chart from Dr. Brantley briefly.
For the record, is that Exhibit 33 that was offered into evidence by the state?
Yes.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Can we go up to the other part of that? The records part? Okay. And do we have a date on that document?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, well, number one, you can see,
There you go.
and this is a document that purports to be Melissa Patton's dental.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
what is her listed date of birth?
Date of birth, it says it looks like 9/9/70.
Okay. And is there a date on which this medical record was created?
I don't know, this isn't my creation.
Well, do you see one on the document currently?
No, I'm not looking at the whole page though. I'm only seeing
And can
from,
we scroll? There's another part that has some handwritten scribblings. See if we can take a chance on this. It's the next page. There you go. Now you'll have to rotate again, I'm afraid. Great, you're a pro. Can you see the chart part on the right that has some scribblings on it?
yeah, but I can't discern what's written.
Can you make out the bottom row, the date?
No,
Okay.
nope, I can't.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. You said that you positively identified the skull as Melissa's based on these charts?
No, based on my examination of the remains, okay, coupled with x-rays that were taken, and those were compared, and this chart and the chart that I made were all compared to what we had in the examiner's office.
And what did you do with the x-rays when you were done with them?
I didn't do anything with them. They go with the file.
So there should be x-rays in the file? There should be x-rays in the file then?
Yeah, yes, if protocol was served. This is a good question for the medical examiner, not myself.
Oh, thank you. Are you aware that there were other agencies looking for the victim in this case?
Oh, yes.
What were some of those agencies that you were aware of?
Well, the GBI, for one, they were looking for a match to a decedent they had in Twiggs County. And then there were calls made from New York and all over the place.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. You answered my question. That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson?
Dr. Hopel?
Yes.
I'm sure, can you see the document that I'm holding up?
Yes, I can.
Are you familiar with that document?
Yeah, but it looks like it's upside down.
Sorry. Did I get it right?
Yes, I can see it.
And what does that describe?
Hold it up again if you would. Okay, that shows you what the scene looked like.
Did you make that drawing?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, state would, and was that an accurate representation of what you saw that day? Was that an accurate representation of what you saw that day?
Yes. As best I could. I mean, there were pictures taken.
Your Honor, I would like to tender State 78.
Okay, I have something on the list y'all gave me as 32.
I don't believe it's the same.
Okay. 78. Any objection, Mr. McDermott?
No objection.
78 is admitted.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. McDermott, questions on those questions?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Hopel. You are free to log out of the Zoom. You are excused as a witness.
Thank you very much, and thank you for letting me serve you.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a good day. Mr. Fawcett or Ms. Hilton, the state may call its next witness.
Your Honor, the state calls Dr. Gilbo.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, do we feel like we need a break? Nope. Okay. Thank you. When you reach the witness stand, if you would turn and face the deputy and raise your right hand, he'll swear you in.
You swear affirm to the testimony that you're about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do. Merci.
Mr. Fawcett, there are some exhibits from a prior witness up here, if you wouldn't mind grabbing those.
Judge, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mark Gilbo, Gilbeau.
And if you would just scoot up to the microphone just a tiny bit. Thank you, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Fawcett.
Hey, Dr. Gilbo, can you tell the court where you're currently employed?
I work at the Clayton County Medical Examiner's Office.
All right, what do you do with them?
I'm a senior investigator.
Okay. And specifically, what is your role with the Clayton County Medical Examiner's Office?
Medical legal death investigation.
All right. Prior to that, have you been employed anywhere else?
Yes, sir.
And where is that?
Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office.
And what did you do with the Fulton County ME's office?
I was first an investigator and forensic anthropologist, and I got a promotion to senior investigator, and I still did their anthropology work.
Okay. And can you describe and go over your training and education for the jury?
Yeah, I got a bachelor's degree in anthropology from the University of Southwestern Louisiana in 1986. I soon started at the University of Tennessee, where I got my master's and my PhD, all of them in anthropology.
Okay. And after receiving your PhD in anthropology, what did you do career-wise after that?
I started a job at the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office.
Okay. How many total years did you work with Fulton County?
Just shy of 25 years.
Okay. And did you continue to work in the field of anthropology itself?
Yeah, I've been a consultant with DeKalb County Medical Examiner's Office for 20 odd years.
Okay. What is anthropology?
Anthropology is basically the study of people, human beings, whether it be their culture, how they make a living, anything about them, in addition to their history, archaeology, and their physical biology, as in physical anthropology, which is the biological anthropology that I studied.
Okay. And specifically the biology anthropology that you studied, what specific topics do you cover in biology anthropology?
Since biological anthropology covers everything to deal with human bodies, there's a subsection of it called forensic anthropology, which basically applies the knowledge we have of human beings to a legal setting, so that we can determine what we can basically from a human skeleton.
Okay. And throughout your time in Fulton County, as well as your time that you're currently employed in Clayton, did you participate in ongoing training?
Yes.
Was that on a yearly basis?
No, we don't really have yearly training. When I was at Fulton County, we had on and off training dictated by the budget. But yeah, I have been to training since I graduated.
Do you yourself occasionally train other individuals in this field?
I give lectures and talks to different groups periodically.
And as it relates to the forensic anthropology itself, how does that field in particular assist you with your work at the medical examiner's office?
Whenever we find an individual that is unidentified, that is, can't be identified through traditional means, that is, we can't look at the person and determine who they are, if they are decomposing or skeletonized, burned, oftentimes a forensic anthropologist will come in to analyze the skeleton itself. And we can develop a basic profile of the individual to try to help the authorities identify the person.
Okay. And how many times would you say you've had an opportunity to examine, say, a skeleton as you've testified to this afternoon?
When I was at Fulton, we had probably 2 or 3, sometimes 4 cases a year. So let's say 3 cases a year for 24 years. So you're talking 75 odd cases. And then I was a consultant at the GBI for 10 years in anthropology, and I looked at another 35 or 40, so 150 or so cases.
Okay. And when you conduct an examination of, say, a skeletal remains, for instance, what types of things are you able to determine?
From a skeleton, if we have a complete skeleton, we can determine the ethnicity of the individual, that is, whether white, black, Native American, the height of the individual, the sex, the race, ethnicity, race, sex, stature. We can't determine weight, but we can tell how tall you were.
Okay. And types of determinations that you just testified to, are those the same types of determinations that you made in your different examples as to how many times you've examined skeletal remains at Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office?
Right. I mean, occasionally we would have a whole skeleton, but oftentimes we would only have one individual bone that was found. The majority of our cases were non-human. A bone would be found, it would be brought in, and I could look at it and tell them human, non-human. When it was determined to be non-human, that was the end of it. There was no case.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, the state moved to tender into evidence Dr. Mark Gilbo as an expert in forensic anthropology.
No objection.
Go ahead.
Okay. Now, Dr. Gilbo, when you testified, when you were employed in the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office, did you assist in an investigation into the death or the cause of death of Melissa Wolfenbarger?
Yes.
And what was the nature of your assistance with that case itself?
Basically looking at some of the skeletal remains that were found on apparently 2 separate occasions.
Okay. You were aware of the skull being located in April of 99?
That was the first thing that was found.
All right. And you're also aware of the extremities being located in June of 99?
Yes, sir.
All right. And can you tell the court what happens to a body or a set of remains once it comes in? How is that identified from, say, any other case in the medical examiner's office?
As a case comes in, it's assigned a specific case number so that we can keep track of it. In this particular case, since remains were found at 2 separate times, we had one case number for the first piece of remains and then a separate case number for the second set of remains. And we're not like the medical records at the hospital where they can join them together under one number. They stay as 2 separate sets of remains, even though in the reports it'll say associated, these 2 cases are associated with each other.
Okay. And are you aware whether or not that happened in this particular case, in Melissa Wolfenbarger's case?
Right. At a certain point, they determined that all of these remains were from the same person.
Okay. Do you recall what the 2 different numbers associated with the skull that came in in April, and then the remains in June of 99. You're familiar with that case number that was assigned?
I don't remember specifically, but the first case number was like in the 700 range, and then I think the second case number was in like the 900 range.
Okay.
So there were approximately 200 cases that occurred between the finding of the skull and then the other remains.
And does the medical examiner's office document their findings and investigation in reports?
Yes, sir.
If you were to view a report from the medical examiner's investigation, would that refresh your recollection as to the numbers that were assigned to the skull and the remains of Miss Melissa Wolfenbarger?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to show you this front of the report. If you could look at the numbers and see if that refreshes your recollection as to those two different case numbers.
Yes, sir. That looks like them.
Okay, and what are those case numbers?
99-0798 and 99-0990.
Okay. And what happens after, say, a body or remains are accepted by the medical examiner's office?
Typically, when remains come in, they'll be stored in our cooler until the pathologist, typically in the morning, will come in and the technicians will get the remains out for the pathologist to perform their examination, whether it be an autopsy or whatever may be necessary.
Okay. And are you aware of whether or not that happened in this case?
As far as I'm aware, it did happen. Yes, sir.
Okay. Talk about the distinction between, say, an anthropologist such as yourself conducting an examination of remains versus, say, a pathologist.
Okay. The pathologist is basically looking at, more often than not, a fully fleshed person. The point at which the body is too decomposed for them to do everything that they need to do, oftentimes they'll call in an anthropologist, and we will prepare the body, basically examine the skeleton at that point.
Okay. All right. At any point, did you get an opportunity to view the remains in the course of your investigation with the ME's office, the remains of Melissa Wolfenbarger?
Yes, sir.
And are you familiar with some of the efforts in place to try to make an identification?
Right. Yeah, there were quite a few sets of dental records that I remember that had come in, people that were missing, and at first all we had was the skull. So teeth were the main thing that we were able to use to try to make an ID. So there were numerous sets of dental records that came in for us to try to make an ID.
Okay. And what is that process in your role as an anthropologist? What methods would you use to try to figure out who this was?
Well, as far as the dental records, we let our forensic dentist do that part of it. But for the rest of the skull, there's certain things that we can use. There's a sinus in your frontal bone that if you take an x-ray of your skull from front to back, you can compare a x-ray before death with an x-ray of the skull, and you can basically overlay one and the other, and they'll match basically almost as good as a fingerprint.
Okay.
So, but you have to have somebody to match it up with.
Was that an issue in terms of conducting identification, not having a basis to compare it to?
Right, yeah. There's no big database out there that you can just put information in and it spits out an answer.
All right. At any point, did you attempt to make any types of reconstructions?
I did not, but at some point I believe they did do a reconstruction, probably having it sent out to the GBI to have the skull reconstructed. As far as putting clay on the skull to make it look like an actual person's face, that's one of the things that we do at a certain point in the investigation.
All right.
Mr. Fawcett?
Yes.
Am I correct that you're looking at photographs?
That's correct, Judge.
Okay, can you tell me which ones they are?
Yes. That would be 37, 57, and 61.
57 and 61?
37, 57, and 61.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll just remind you again that, as I warned you at the beginning of the trial, that the next series of photographs, as you might have inferred, will be somewhat graphic, given the nature of what they'll show. So I'm giving you a moment to brace yourselves. Thank you.
Now, Dr. Gilbo, I'm going to hand you what's been marked as State's Exhibits 37, 57, and 61. Can you open that folder? If you recognize the images depicted on those exhibits?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, are you able to tell from the photographs themselves where those photographs were taken?
Yeah, this was most likely in the autopsy room at the Fulton County Medical Examiner's office.
Okay. And you've been in that room yourself?
Many times.
All right. And that would have been during that period in when the remains were located? You would have been in the medical examiner's office at that time?
Yes, sir.
You testified as to numbers associated with the case, two numbers in particular for the cases that came in. The case for the skull, right. You said that was 99-0798, and the case assigned to the extremities, that was 99-0990. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. On those images depicted in 37, 57, and 61, do you see anything representative of those numbers that I just read into the record?
Right. On the little tag that's in the photograph, typically that would include the name of the decedent, the date, the case number, and which doctor is assigned to the case.
Okay. Now, is that labeled as your recollection as records would have been kept in the normal course of business at the medical examiner's office during that period that you were there?
Yes, sir. That's how they would keep information in the photograph.
Okay. And your testimony is that you were present in the office at the time that Melissa Wolfenbarger's remains were being investigated?
Yes, sir.
And what work in particular did you do on this case itself, if you can recall that?
Basically, I looked at the skull. I can't remember exactly who cleaned it off, but the skull was cleaned of tissue, and then it was presented to me to do an analysis, and the skull had been autopsied. So in order to do my measurements, we do a combination of looking at the skull and measurements. Looking at it is one thing. Measurements, you hope that you have a complete skull. Well, since it had been autopsied, the top of the skull had been removed. So I had to reapproximate the top of the skull on the remainder of the cranium with some wax as best I could put it back together. So after that was done, I did do my measurements.
Okay. And what do you mean by measurements?
We have specialized tools that we have a certain set of measurements that we can do that we then plug into a discriminant function formula, and it will determine first whether the individual is male or female, and then also a slightly separate set of measurements will determine the ethnicity of the individual based on people in the United States, Caucasian, African American, or American Indian.
Okay. And can you say, based off of your recollection and your viewing of those exhibits depicted in States Exhibit 37, 57, and 61, that those are the photographs that were taken at or around the autopsy of Melissa Wolfenbarger?
Yes, sir.
And those are the photographs that were taken at the time you were employed with the medical examiner's office?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, at this time the state moved to tender in evidence States Exhibits 37, 57, and 61.
Mr. McDermott? 37, 57, and 61 are admitted.
Permission to publish?
Permission granted.
All right, for the record, Your Honor, I'm publishing State's Exhibit 37. Okay. Can you see that exhibit on the screen, Dr. Gilbo?
Yes, sir.
All right. What are we looking at?
This is a cervical vertebrae, a vertebrae in your neck.
All right. And is there anything of significance about this particular vertebrae?
The surface. Can I
If
stand
you want to
up?
get up and, yes, you can.
Okay. This is the canal where the spinal cord goes. This would be the back of your neck. This would be the front of your neck. This is the body of the vertebrae, and these are the facets that allow you to move turn your head. So even though you can't spin it around, you can look from side to side with the flexibility that this allows. Now, this surface and this surface have been damaged. Something has cut through this plane of the vertebrae and separated it from the one that was next to it.
Dr. Gilbo, have you at any point studied the effects of, say, saws or mechanical instruments on bones themselves?
Yes, sir.
What do you mean by that?
I did a master's thesis on saw marks in bone.
Okay. So is it safe to say you're pretty well versed in the effects of, say, saw and the results of saws on bones?
Yes, sir.
Now I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 57. Let me get this down first. All right.
Objection. Can we approach?
Sure.
All right.
To be clear, I think based on the sidebar that the objection was withdrawn. Is that fair, Mr. McDermott?
For now.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Bossett.
All right. All right. So for the record, publishing State's Exhibit 57. Now, Dr. Gilbo, if you would mind stepping down from the seat, and you see the same. If I could get you to.
And I'll just ask, you're perfectly fine where you are, but when you do speak, if you'll just try and speak up because you have your back to me and the court reporter. Thank you, sir.
Is that the same medical examiner number referenced in the report?
Yes, sir.
All right. And what are we looking at here? You can tell that from that photograph.
This is a long bone. I'm not sure which one it is just from this photo, but it's either the shaft of one of the bones of the arm or leg. I can't tell just from this photograph.
And can you see anything else depicted on Exhibit 57 of significance?
Yeah, it appears that this bone was cut with a saw.
Okay. And why do you say that?
There are striations here that are consistent with a saw. There's a groove here that's consistent with a saw blade, and then it's apparently was cut through up to a certain point, and then the remainder of the bone broke.
Okay.
It was cut all the way through.
All right. If I could have you remain up there, I'm going to show you one more exhibit. Now showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 61. Can you tell the court what we're looking at? Is that a, well, first, is that another photograph from the autopsy of Melissa Wolfenbarger?
Yes.
Okay. And is there anything of significance that you observed or able to observe on that State's Exhibit?
Yeah, this is a cross section of the long bone. So this is a bone that has been cut completely through. And you can see the striations here. This is typically what we see when a saw cuts through an object. In this case, a piece of bone.
Now, I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 66. You see that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is that the type of saw that would make the types of marks on there? I'm not asking specific blade.
Right.
But is that the type of instrument that could cause the marks depicted on those exhibits?
Yes, sir.
All right. One moment, Judge.
Sure.
Now, Dr. Gilbo, we're talking about remains from April and June of 1999. Was the medical examiner's office able to observe and notate what appeared to be tool marks on those bones at that time?
Yes, sir.
So well before 2003, is that safe to say?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And at the point when you got involved in the case, it would have been back in that 99 period when the remains were located?
Yes, sir.
All right. That's all I have, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. McDermott, questions for this witness?
Yes, ma'am. You referred to the skull as having the flesh cleaned. Is that the process?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You were nodding. I just want to make
Okay.
the record clear.
Works for me, but only me. Is that the process that it speaks of in the reports of soaking the head in bleach?
Right. That's one of the ways that they use to try to remove some of the flesh from the bone.
I see. And did they use other methods for other of the remains?
Sometimes we will heat up the remains in some water with detergent. We're basically trying to remove the flesh, and heat is one of the ways that we can do that.
I see. You mentioned something about taking measurements of the skull.
Yes, sir.
Is that what's known as the Giles-Elliott discrimination?
That's one of the ways. Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you perform that in this case?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you could look at those two documents and tell me if you recognize them.
Yep, that's the
You can say what they are.
okay. That's the graph and the measurements that we take typically.
And the second one?
And the second one is just all my measurements.
There's a lot of measurements in there, isn't there?
Yes, sir.
How many measurements do you have to take to complete this process?
There's 8 basic measurements, and then for some of the discriminant functions, you don't use all of them, but people smarter than me have figured out how to do this. I just use their method. Okay. And we basically plug the measurements into the formula, and it spits out an answer that we can graph on a chart.
And these are the graphs you're speaking of?
That's the graphs, yes,
And
sir.
the graphs tell you whether the head is male or female?
Based on the measurements that are taken, yes,
And
sir.
whether it's a black person or a white person?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you know when this method was created?
Oh, a lot of it was based on anatomical collections. They used some of the remains of service people that were killed in the Korean War back in the 40s and 50s, as I can recollect.
Okay. So this is a method that had been around since the 40s and 50s?
As far as I'm aware, yes, sir.
Okay. And based on your conclusions on those calculations, you returned a conclusion that it was a white male skull?
That's correct.
Okay. And do you remember saying at the beginning of your direct examination that one of the functions that you guys perform is that you can develop a basic profile of the individual?
That's correct.
And in this case, you thought the basic profile of the individual was a white male?
That's correct.
All right, I don't have any other questions.
Thank you. Mr. Fawcett, any additional questions?
Yes. Dr. Gilbo, was there any information as to damage to the skull that was recovered from Melissa Wolfenbarger?
Yeah, I think there was some minor damage to the skull just from being out in the field, but then the top of the cranium was removed at the time of the autopsy prior to me being able to look at it.
Okay. And we're talking about the measurements. What are you comparing those, what is the standard that you're comparing the measurements to?
The discriminant function was developed by the Giles and Elliott crew, and basically they measured a whole bunch of skulls and then were able to look at certain measurements that were more male and some that were more female. So depending on where the measurements that you took fell in the spectrum, you would classify it either as male or female.
Okay. And what is the purpose of, say, the investigative tool? What does that serve, or what stage does that serve in the investigation process?
We're trying to develop a profile of who we might be looking for, but with human populations, not everybody is the same. So that we're trying to quantify something that removes the human judgment from the equation. Everybody should be able to take a measurement the same, whereas I can look at something and say that box is square. Well, another person would say, well, that box is a rectangle. So it removes hopefully removes the judgment part of the equation.
Okay. Well, what is the answer to explain, or the explanation for Dr. Gilbo initially determined based on that scale that it was male? So how do we get to that point, and what's the explanation for that?
What we do is done by human beings. We don't know what the answer is. All we can do is take measurements, and whatever the answer comes out with, that's what we go with. In this particular case, it came out, the measurements declared that it was a male, when in fact, in hindsight, it was a female. But as with everything in a biological system, there are some that are slightly different from the others. So there's variability within human populations. So the combination of the skull being autopsied and possibly that it was into the male range being a female, it's,
Okay.
just one of those things.
And did that contribute in any way to, say, the identification itself?
Yeah, it by us thinking that it's a male, and so we're looking for males, we're not looking for females. So yeah, that was kind of a problem with the identification in the beginning.
Okay. And you're familiar with the name Dr. Joseph Parker?
Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with where he was conducting his duties as ME at that time?
Yes, sir.
And where was he conducting his duties as ME?
He worked for us at Fulton County. He also worked out at the GBI, and he was also the medical examiner for Bibb County down in Macon.
Okay. And are you aware of a headless corpse that was located, male headless corpse that was located close to Macon during that period of time?
Right. Dr. Parker generally worked on the weekends, and I believe that these remains came in on a Friday. So when he came in on Saturday, this was one of his cases. So he had just come from Macon where a body had been found with no head. Well, he shows up the next day and there's a head with no body. So the assumption from the beginning was, well, we're going to see if this head matches this body.
Okay. So early on in the investigation, there was a theory that might be the case.
Right.
All right. And did that contribute, or was that a factor in the overall investigation into determining the ID?
I think it had an influence, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. That's all I have, Judge.
Mr. McDermott, anything else?
Do you remember about what time it was in the United States that we began using DNA testing for identification purposes?
As far as I'm aware, it was maybe the late 80s when it became
Right.
available.
And it was certainly available in the late 90s, correct?
Yes, sir.
And so you wanted to identify who this head belonged to, right?
Yes, sir.
So why was not the first thing that you did preserve DNA?
I looked at the bones, not the tissue. That would have been the prudent thing to do, preserve tissue before anything else is done.
Okay. All right. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Fassett, anything else?
Nothing from this witness, Judge.
Thank you, sir. You may step down. Your
Thank you,
excuse as a witness. Can you all come here, please? I was inquiring about, timing of what we do next. So it's getting near 5 o'clock, so I'm going to excuse you for the evening here in just a moment. I want to tell you a couple of things. Number one, I have some matters that I have to take care of tomorrow morning, and I think one or two of you have some other matters that y'all need to take care of that I promised I would accommodate. And so I don't want to run into a situation where I told y'all to get here at 10:30 last time and we didn't start until much later than that. So I'm going to tell you not to arrive tomorrow until 12:30. So hopefully that will give you a good night's sleep, let you sleep in, and get here at 12:30 with no traffic. Have a chance to eat lunch, all that good stuff. We'll get started promptly at 12:30 when you arrive. So I am going to release you in just a moment. I'll just give you the same instruction that I've given you each day, which is just to remind you that your decision in this case is supposed to be made only based on the evidence that is presented to you in this courtroom. And so that means that it would be improper for you to do any independent research, to go drive by anywhere, to look anything up or anything like that. It would also not be proper for you to discuss this case with anyone or to allow anyone to discuss it with you or in your presence, and that includes amongst yourselves until it's time for you to actually deliberate the case. The last thing I will remind you of is that there may be media about this case, and so it is your sworn duty to avoid media about this case, because again, your obligation in this case is to decide the case based on the evidence presented in the courtroom. With that, I thank you again for your patience and attention today. I'll excuse you and see you tomorrow at 12:30. Jury's clear. You can be seated. Anything that the parties want the court to take up before we adjourn? I have a couple of matters I'm going to ask you about, but anything from the state?
No, Your Honor.
Anything from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Couple things. A little bit ago, I emailed you the proposed jury charges. There's not a whole lot of editorial. I haven't exercised any editorial control over them at this point, other than to take what the parties have proposed and put it into the format in which I will present it. So I can, based on what I think the timing is likely to be, I think we should plan on having maybe initial first pass at those jury charges at the end of business tomorrow. And then beyond that, I just wanted to mention there were a couple of times that the parties approached the bench today during Dr. Hoptel's testimony regarding the scope of the examination of this witness and whether she was going to testify about DNA. I believe the discussion was that the state hadn't solicited any such statement, and though I think the witness might have offered something, it was during a portion of her testimony where I was telling her to stop talking, and so I'm not actually sure anybody heard her. I don't know, but the state didn't solicit it, and she didn't offer any such testimony again. And then beyond that, I think Dr. Hoptel also said something about a dog being present. Mr. McDermott objected, and there was some discussion at the bench where I pointed out that I had instructed a witness. I had struck a witness's testimony about a video that portrayed a dog, but I hadn't struck anybody's testimony about the presence of a dog or the belief that a dog had been present at some time. And then there was also an approach regarding tool marks that was withdrawn. And I think that's it. Anything else before we adjourn?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. As I said, we'll start tomorrow at 12:30. Everybody have a good evening.